If Sean is on when we're ready to start, we can just start with the Puppet Master theme.
Not just you, Biff and the commercials too.
Treatment of minor illnesses and injuries, wellness visits and physicals. There's also a lab draw station open from 8 to noon weekdays. A division of Wheeling Hospital, the Woodsdale Health Center is led by family physician Dr. Michael Wilson. Call 304-234-1971. They'll take good care of you.
This past year has been a challenge for us all. Red, yellow, black, and white. The pandemic has hurt us all. That's why I think it is interesting that it was a diverse group of scientists led by Dr. Graham and his close associate, Dr. Colbert, an African-American woman who worked on this vaccine to help us all. I hope it says that together we can do anything. That's not just Black history, that's American history.
CA House Music has all the gear to make your music legendary. With all the best gear including Fender, Epiphone, Yamaha, and more, CA House will have you rocking in no time. Get the most for your money with everyday low prices. And we meet or beat internet pricing. Play before you buy and let our product specialists help you pick out the instrument that's right for you. CA House Music, supporting local musicians since 1872. Play music for life.
Hello everyone, from the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster with a look at your local weather forecast for your Thursday. Mostly sunny skies, daytime high of 42, your overnight low of 24 with just a few clouds around. You'll see plenty of sunshine around for your Friday with highs in the lower to mid 40s. Have yourself a great day everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Today is Thursday.
Today is a very special day.
The fourth Thursday of every February.
I hope you like chili. I really hope this is chili.
Grab a spoon. Today is National Chili Day.
National Chili Day.
Chili, 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 chili.
The chili. Chili is nature's chillaxative. Chili, chili.
Happy Chili Day.
It's showtime.
A fresh take on local, regional, and national news. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
Governor Justice held another town hall last night on his proposed income tax reduction. It was an online thing. I think I saw at one point 100 and some odd people were online watching it, including me. But once again, the governor had almost no details about what the plan is. He wants to reduce the income tax, increase the sales tax by some amount, create a wealth tax or luxury tax on some items for some people, wants to create a tiered gas and extraction industry tax system, but we have no idea what that's going to generate, more or less money. And then at one point he even came up with it. He said, and I think Biffy, you know how he sometimes just makes this stuff up as he's talking? He said, I think what would really be good is if we could have a tax rebate of some kind for people who are in really low income categories, because they won't benefit from an income tax reduction and they'll have to pay that sales tax. So maybe we could, I got to think about this. Maybe we could come up with some kind of a tax rebate plan for them. Okay, I mean, for God's sake, you're making this stuff as you go along. You're just making it up as you go along. It makes no sense. The whole thing makes no sense. So I watched it. I watched the earlier one this week. It's just been a mess. The legislature, meanwhile, continues eroding the authority of local governments. We talked to Mayor Elliott about that a bit last hour. And I asked my friend Sean Fluharty, the 3rd District delegate, the puppet master, last night, how he was handling things down there. I said, are you having fun? And I got the impression he's not necessarily having a whole lot of fun.
Well, a lot of fun to be had there, Howard.
Why don't you tell me you're getting your ass kicked? I mean, Sean, we've called you the puppet master because in the very first year you were there, you asked the question, who's pulling the strings down here? And back then, I think it was clear it was ALEC, the ALEC organization, and some other folks. I'm tempted to ask that question now. Who's pulling the strings down there? I mean, what is the impetus for all of this regressive, anti-consumer, anti-citizen, anti-municipality legislation? I can't get a handle on who actually is behind it other than the GOP leadership themselves. So who's pulling the strings down there this year?
It's troubling because I think there's been a drastic move to the far right on the bills that are coming out. And, previously we could foresee the ALEC bills coming and they did, from right to work, the repeal of prevailing wage. We knew all those things were coming, right, Howard? But,
right.
I'm having conversations with a lot of Republicans down here who, they come up to me and just shaking their head, what exactly are we doing? I think a lot of those who have been here for a while, who have seen the bills come through, and they're just wondering why it's part of the agenda, like the bill we had yesterday to eviscerate user fees and take away local control. I thought Republicans were all about handing control to the local governments and not having it centralized in Charleston. And then you see these bills coming out which do the exact opposite. They pass a bill out of the House that does away with local control on single-use containers. So that's the high priority in the state of West Virginia right now. So, Howard, it's sometimes you can just shake your head and just wonder where they dream these things up.
I said a minute ago, and I've often said this about Governor Justice, sometimes I think he just makes stuff on the fly, Like last night in his town hall meeting, he said, I'm thinking maybe we should have a tax rebate for low-income people. That's not a bad idea. I got to think about that. I think he just comes up with ideas while he's talking. I get the sense sometimes that the Republican majority right now is doing the same thing, like this user fee amendment that came out yesterday. I wonder how thought out that had been. Did they talk about it in caucus? Did they say, let's get, or did it just somebody say, hey, let's just do this? Because I'm getting the sense that a lot of the amendments coming up, the charter bill that was passed in the House, or that was passed to the House, had to come back for revisiting because their amendments were so broad they ended up becoming too expensive. I get the sense they're just sort of pulling things out of their hiney without any real plan or thought ahead of time.
Well, the bill in particular, the user fee bill, it was introduced last week in the Political Subdivisions Committee. And when it came out, we had testimony there from the Municipal League and people who, if anybody's to be affected by the bill, they come and testify. And the testimony revealed, and the fiscal note shows, that it would directly, obviously, impact Wheeling and Charleston in particular, and Morgantown and Charleston to, over $1 million, going on $2 million. And that was in the original bill, which carved out state employees. And the testimony showed that the money from the user fee, which is collected from a lot of non-residents in our area in particular, because people are driving into Wheeling to work,
right,
that money goes to essential services. It goes to fund our police departments, our fire departments, pave our roads. And it's in Wheeling, I believe, to the tune of almost half of that money goes to the police department. So the testimony was that it would literally defund the police. And it would refund legislators because we'd be the state employees not paying a user fee when we're in Charleston, right? So once we got that nonsense out last week, I thought for sure, because that was my questioning revealed all that for sure they would just pull the bill and we wouldn't have to deal with it anymore because we didn't pass it out that day. No, Howard, not 2021, not with the supermajority. So it comes back yesterday, and they thought to themselves in that week leading up, Howard, they thought, you know what? We're just not defunding the police enough. They want to defund them even more. So they want to do away completely with user fees, not just carve out state employees and public employees. They want to just do away with it in totality with no plan on how that money would be supplanted in those local economies. So the mayors of Wheeling and Charleston and Morgantown are back home going, what's going on here? We have to budget ourselves. We have to fund our police departments and essential services. And you're down here passing this stuff out with no plan, like you said, Howard, no plan in place, no thought process. Facts and evidence are pretty clear. And I think if you went back home and talked to the folks, they'd tell you, yeah, we kind of enjoy having a funded police department. That's important for our society to progress.
In Wheeling, as you point out, half the user fee is designated for essentially police operations one way or another, primarily for the new police headquarters and some other things. But it's half of it goes to the law enforcement. In Charleston, as I understand it, Mayor Goodwin down there has said if they have to get rid of their user fee, they're going to have to literally lay off officers.
That's right.
I mean, you talk about defunding the police, that you can't defund it any worse than laying off cops because of this user fee fiasco that they're trying. Sean, what's your sense, though? Does it passed the Political Subdivisions Committee yesterday? Does it pass the House?
Well, it's going to go to finance next, and we'll see what kind of appetite they have in finance once they see these numbers, because the numbers are going to obviously change from the original bill, which already was blowing holes in local budgets. This is going to, by doing away with it completely, you're going to have even more drastic change. It passed out of committee 12-10. I roll call voted them and got them on their vote, and I told them, if you're gonna vote to fund the police, I want to have your name beside it. So let's make sure we roll call vote this. And it was a 12-10 vote to get out of the subcommittee, out of committee of political subdivisions. So now it'll go to finance, and we'll see what happens there. But once it gets to the floor, Howard, I don't think this train's not stopping once it gets to the floor. If it gets to the floor.
That's kind of been the phrase of the session, though, right? The train gets started and doesn't stop. I mean, they just move through. Again, I use the charter school bill as an example. They just kept amending it and interesting enough, of course, rejecting Democrat amendments to try and slow things down. But Republican amendments just kept getting tacked on and tacked on. Nobody bothered to stop and look at the price that was rising and rising until the bill was actually ready for House vote. And then they said, wait a minute, how are we going to pay for this thing?
We passed it out. Now they're passing out bills from the floor. And here's the problem with it all, Howard. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. You have to have full transparency. And part of that transparency involves fully vetting legislation. And the way we've done that in the past is that we go to several committees, at least two, prior to going to the floor. Their goal this year, we only have two committee areas where we meet now, the House Chamber and House Gov Org. And they're rushing these bills through just one committee. So the problem with that is only 24, 25 people see the bill before it hits the floor, right? It hasn't been vetted. People aren't testifying in committee like they were able to in the past. No public hearings are taking place. There's zero transparency in what's going on down here. And what you're getting is a bad product at the end of the day because you're not fully vetting these bills. And when you're passing things out of the House without a true fiscal note, not knowing the economic impact, and then you turn around and have to renege on the passing of it because, oh, by the way, we may have screwed that one up. I mean, it's not a good look. It's not good government. And you would think with the supermajority they have, they would slow things down and make sure it's done the right way.
They're going to get it, if they choose to, they'll get it done no matter what because they've got the numbers. So, I mean, it almost is a slap in the face to the process when there's, from their perspective, what's the harm in letting Democrats, or anybody, I shouldn't say Democrats, what's the harm in letting it be, held up for public scrutiny? What's the harm in letting extra committee eyes be on it? We have the votes to pass it no matter what. So we'll let the process work out, and then we'll pass it anyway. It's like they just don't even want to pretend to care.
Well, it's almost like they know that what's coming out is not good for West Virginia. So why would you want more eyes and ears on it? Why would you have the public hearings? We have these committee meetings, Howard. We're fully capable of video streaming. I mean, it's amazing to me. Parents and the students figured out how to try to use Zoom meetings and do things remotely. Virtually every business under the sun, not just in West Virginia but nationwide, has figured out how to do things remotely and use video conferencing. Yet in the state of West Virginia, the legislature, which has video conferencing capabilities and has video capabilities to stream our meetings, the public is shut out. They don't have the opportunity to even watch what's going on, despite the capabilities being there. And I think that's an affront to West Virginians and good government. I mean, why are you hiding it? What are you hiding, really, at this point? What are you ashamed of what you're doing, that you don't want anybody to see it?
And what's interesting, Sean, and you tried to change this, but it didn't work. They're even trying to keep history from knowing how the debates went because they're precluding some comments from going into the journal.
That's right. And the importance of that, Howard, and why I moved to make sure we had a record, is that when laws are challenged on the books, or the intent of those laws, what we say and do can be taken up later, right? So the legislative intent of a piece of legislation, so what was said and what we're talking about is, and the bill in particular that we had a lot of debate on, involves the powers of the governor and whether he has kind of breached those powers, overstepped his boundaries, and the powers of the legislature and our role in government. In the bill that came out, there's question as to whether the bill that was passed would apply to the current executive order or only future executive orders. And I wanted that in the books, right? I want to know that when we go back on this, that we have a record, and it's a built-up record that we can fall back on. And at that time, we also had some new members who made some comments, and I want to get their comments in the appendix of the journal because, it's their first time down here, and this is a big deal, and I wanted to make sure they're represented well. So I've never seen this, however. I made the motion. It's just a procedural motion that, out of common good courtesy, is granted that there was an objection to it. And we resolved it the next day. The individual who made the objection decided that, that was off course and not something she should do. She came back and we put those comments in the appendix of the journal. But the point being, Howard, is, something that's so easily done and part of, good government and what we're doing, their kind of default mode was to object to something just by, because the Democrat made the motion, right? And wait a minute, they might put this in the record, and we can't have this in the record. People might see it.
That's what I was thinking. It's not whether it was or wasn't done. It's that the reflexive response was no. We don't want why would we want the Democrats' comments in the record? Now, they ironed it out, but the reflexive response was no. Sean, I know you have to get to a committee meeting, so I've got to ask you about there are some really bizarre bills that are introduced this time around. Now, there are every year, and I don't know if any of these are going to go anywhere. For example, I was a bit stunned to realize that apparently we have a problem in West Virginia with people having microchips being put in their arms as a condition of employment.
You get crazy bills every session, Howard, but that was a bill introduced by the majority leader. It wasn't like it was some rogue individual from somewhere in West Virginia that wanted to get in the press and introduce some crazy bill. That was by leadership. That bill was introduced by leadership. And apparently, I don't know what's going on at the radio station, but I highly doubt you've been microchipped, and I don't think I've spoken to one individual who is worried about being microchipped by their employer, but apparently it requires the legislature to convene and take it up. It blows my mind, really.
I saw that, and it was, again, it probably won't pass, but I don't know where it probably won't even go anywhere, but the fact that it's even introduced is amazing to me. Biff, you still haven't been microchipped, right?
Not yet.
Okay, just double checking. And then, Sean, a couple of things that I haven't quite figured these two bills out. I think they're two separate bills. One is to prohibit the teaching and display of sexuality, and I don't quite understand what that is all about. And there is another one, which I think is a separate bill, maybe I'm wrong, that there can be no teaching of divisive issues, which would be racism or sexism and so on. Not that you wouldn't be racist or sexist, but you couldn't teach about the concept. I don't get that.
Bills to erase history, Howard. That's essentially what it is. People have this warped view of the world that, in their mind, things never happened or didn't occur, and people shouldn't learn about it. I don't get it. It's these bills, like you said, Howard, every year you get a group of people who introduce things and they're head scratchers, but I don't see these bills gaining traction. I've received comments and emails about those bills because it's hurtful to a lot of people to see that, maybe they're not viewed in the same light as others in our state and they don't feel included and part of an inclusive state. And that's why a lot of young people leave, Howard. They don't feel like they have the quality of life here that they can have in other states because they don't feel welcome. And
Sean, they're coming in by hundreds of thousands once this income tax thing changes.
Yeah, I've asked the governor that directly. Where are these numbers coming from? And there's no evidence behind them. They just sound good, right? When you say 400,000 people are coming, it's like you're doing your work, you're not showing it, right? You put an answer down, but you didn't show how you got there.
And it's not the right answer anyway. Hey, Sean, I know you've got a committee meeting to get to, so I don't want to keep you any longer. I appreciate your time with us this morning. I tell you to keep up the good work. I guess I'll tell you that, but I don't know that it's going to do any good, but you just keep fighting the good fight at any rate.
I'll do that. Appreciate you. You guys take care.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. The Puppet Master, 3rd District Delegate Sean Fluharty, checking in from Charleston here on the Watchdog Morning Show. He is going to a committee meeting. He told me he had to get there to 9:30, so he gave us a little time this morning. And the whole thing is just, it is to me, mind-boggling. Biffy, let's do a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to do one quick thing before the news, and that is visit a comment made by Governor Justice this week. Sean mentioned early in that segment that when the Republicans took control several years ago, not a super majority, but when they first took control, they brought right to work, prevailing wage, and this was going to be a big change. We're all going to be living in paradise because of these things. The governor had an interesting comment to make about that this week, and I want you to hear that coming up next on the Watchdog Morning Show.
For all of your IT needs, visit omniperforms.com. Omni Strategic.
Great responsibility.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gellner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gellnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Now's a great time to go Toyota for reliability, value, and style. And RAV4 is the #1 selling SUV in America over the last year, with available all-wheel drive in gas or hybrid models. Now get up to $1,000 cash back from Toyota through March 1st. For more offers, shop Toyota's official website for deals. Buyatoyota.com. Then see your Toyota dealer. Go Toyota, and let's go places.
Millions plan for retirement online. Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
U.S. taxpayer expense.
Tune in to Marshall County's second favorite son, Donnie Gilbert, Fridays from noon to 2 on the Valley's only network dedicated to live and local talk radio, The Watchdog.
He rambles, he rants, and sometimes he sings. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
32 degrees and even freezing at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. We have winds shooting around 7 miles an hour. Makes it feel like 26 degrees, the feel-like temperature. 32 at the airport, 32 at my home studios in Elm Grove, 32 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Today is day 16 of the 60-day session in West Virginia's legislature. A little more than a quarter done, and they have been moving bills through very quickly. One thing that has not yet moved, because we really haven't seen it, is the governor's income tax proposal. The governor held another town hall meeting last night, air quotes please, town hall meeting online. I do want to say this. I give the governor credit. Some of the questions that were asked of him last night were tough questions. I mean, they really were. And the same thing true with the town hall meeting he did earlier in the week. So they had to be submitted in writing, and then the one of his staff would read the questions. You couldn't call in and actually ask them yourself, but you could send them in. And they were, I mean, they did not keep away questions that were, you know, that clearly didn't agree with the governor. So I give him a lot of credit for that. Now, he didn't really answer them when the time came, but I give him credit for at least taking them. One of the big things, though, is when will we see this? Because, again, second town hall last night, he had his State of the State speech. He had 2 town halls. He's talked about on Hoppy's show. When will we find any details of this? We know the big, broad picture, but when are we going to get some details? And the answer is maybe today, apparently. The governor yesterday in his town hall meeting said, probably tomorrow, meaning today, I'll have it to the legislature. Now, I haven't seen any movement of that yet as I check over the legislative information here, but, you know, maybe we'll see it. But when we see it, will we see details? Again, he wants to cut the income tax. I get that. And he's got some details about how he plans to cut it. But then he's going to raise the sales tax by maybe 1.5 to 1.9%. Well, which is it? 1.5, 1.9, 1.72? What are you going to raise it to? I mean, as of last night, at least, he didn't seem to know. If we're going to have tiered natural resources, gas and oil and so on, and coal, if we're going to tier their payments based on how much profit they're making, which the idea would be the more the companies make, the more they would pay, the less they make, the less they pay. Well, what are the numbers going to be on that? What's your prediction of how much money you're going to get in from that? The pop tax, which he's talking about, and I'm not opposed to that, the soda tax. I'm drinking my Diet Dr. Pepper this morning, and it's okay. I can live with that. Cigarette tax, I don't smoke, so I don't care about that. Personally, but those are fine. The sin taxes, I'm okay with that. But I think he said anywhere from $1 to $4. Well, which is it? $1, $2, $3? What is it? $4? Where are the details? Now, again, maybe they'll come today. But if he, and I had to laugh, Biff. And again, I was really enjoying watching the tweets, primarily of Brad. Brad was just in a snarky mood last night. Brad McElhenney. I really was enjoying watching his tweets during the town hall meeting. Somebody asked for the details, basically, and the governor just did what I did. He outlined the big, broad picture, and then he said, well, now, but I don't see any need to get into the details of all this. And Brad said, I thought that was the point of this meeting. I thought that's what this was for, to give us some details. But earlier this week, the governor said something that I've been meaning to share with you if you haven't seen or heard it. This year we have a supermajority of Republicans in the House and the Senate, so they can do whatever they want. But it's now been, 4 years since the Republicans took control, 2 separate terms. So I think it's been 4 years since the Republicans became the majority party in the House and the Senate. And the first thing they did was ram through right-to-work legislation and prevailing wage legislation. Now, we've talked about it on this show. We've talked about it when it went through. We've talked about it since then. We talked about it just last week with Josh Schwartz from the AFL-CIO. The talk that prevailing wage was going to save us so much money. We could do like 5 projects for the price of 1 if we would just have prevailing wage. Well, it turned out that's not true. Actually, the cost of the construction projects went up, not down. Right to work was going to be the panacea. Right to work. If we make this a right to work state, they're going to flood in. The businesses will come flooding into our state. We won't be able to keep them with a stick. They're going to want to come here and be part of our state because we have right to. That was the pitch. That was the promise. Did it work out? Even the governor this week. And I have to suggest that probably some of the Republicans went, why in God's name did you say that, Governor Justice? Even the governor this week pointed out those 2 things, prevailing wage and right to work, did not work.
Well, the bottom line to the whole thing is just really simple. We went out and passed a right to work law. We got rid of prevailing wage. We built fields all over the place in thinking that they will come. They didn't come, did they?
Now that's the point. They didn't come, and even the governor says it. Now the governor's got his own little game plan. I'm going to reduce the income tax, and they're going to come. 400,000 people come flooding into our state because we have no income tax. Well, Governor, listen to yourself. We were going to have that with right to work. They didn't come. Prevailing wage to solve our problem. It didn't happen. I'm not quite sure what he meant. We have fields and fields. I don't know. Is he thinking a field of dreams? If you build it, they will come. I'm not sure what the fields that he was talking about there was. But, I mean, the governor, and it wasn't, he didn't dance around it. He said it clearly. He said, right to work was going to save us. Prevailing wage was going to save us. We were going to have a huge influx of people and businesses. And we didn't. The governor said it right there. And we didn't. Let's say that one more time, Biffy.
Really simple. Well, the bottom line to the whole thing is just really simple. We went out and passed a right to work law. We got rid of prevailing wage. We built fields all over the place in thinking that they will come. They didn't come, did they?
You know the old thing, shame on, first time, shame on me, second time, first time, shame on you, second time, shame on me. Governor, I think of that when I hear you say that. We were buffaloed by right to work, buffaloed by prevailing wage. Why in the world should we be buffaloed by your income tax concept that's going to bring in these people? Right to work didn't do it, prevailing wage didn't do it. Now, magically, the income tax thing is even easier to debunk. People don't move because of income. Who's going to move to West Virginia because of income taxes? They can move to Florida. How are there's no income tax there? They moved to Florida because they got beaches and they got sand and they got sunshine, they got weather, and that's why you go to Florida. They got golf courses and no income tax. I don't quarrel that that's part of the mix, but look at another state that has no income taxes, Alaska. Their population is declining. So the governor himself makes the point. We did right to work. We did prevailing wage. They told us they were going to come. They didn't come, did they? No, they didn't, Governor. And they ain't going to come because of the income tax reduction. If we ever get a chance to see a proposal from you to begin with. 9:40, 20 till the hour, Watchdog Morning Show. A few other odds and ends I want to get to, including our Capitol report out of Charleston. But first, why don't we check some Ohio Valley headlines and head over to Metro News. And Billy's got sports for us, too. It's the Watchdog Morning Show for a Thursday.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm
I don't know about you, Biffy. I'm getting hungry. Yes, 7:30 and 9:30. If it's not in there, what's that? We're moving that someplace else. I don't know where she's moving that someplace else. It may not be in the morning. I don't know. But yeah, I want Bill a second time. If you don't mind. Well, I think we're doing it, just not at this point. Okay. We'll work through it, Biff. I know it's a hassle. It's a hassle to take a break before, take that 20 break for me, too. But I'm trying.
Jay Caulfield. Be safe out there. Be considerate of others. Please check on the elderly. I'm Bill DeFabio on sports, and we are, and always will be, your watchdog.
Are you struggling to make payments due to an unexpected financial obligation or loss of income? Are you receiving calls from debt collectors? Are you feeling overwhelmed and unsure of what steps to take next? Then you need the experience and expertise of attorney Tom McIntyre and his staff to help guide you through these temporary hardships. Want to hear more about how Tom can help? Then call 877-456-4155 and receive a free copy of Tom's ebook, When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Tom's ebook covers many questions people have about bankruptcy and includes interesting stories about people who tried to avoid filing and people who have filed for bankruptcy. We think you'll be surprised to learn some interesting facts about bankruptcy. Call 877-456-4155.
I'm Josh from Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. I hope you are staying healthy. We continue to respond to structural, fire, and water emergencies. We are combating COVID-19 with our highly trained staff and latest disinfection systems, providing preventative and reactive disinfection to facilities around the region, while working with area hospitals on isolation areas and air filtering. At Panhandle, we continue to follow social distancing and hygiene protocols. We are dedicated to our community, and together we will get through this.
I'm not buying till I checked on Ford.
Most of us are faced with uncertainty every day. Your job, your finances, sporting events, schooling for your children, and so much more. With so much uncertainty surrounding you, there is one auto dealership that you can be certain about, and that's Doane Ford. You can be certain that you always get a great deal and the best service afterwards. Being in business for over 50 years has given Doane Ford the reputation of being a strong, reliable dealership. Be certain. Choose Doane Ford. Online at DoaneFord.com.
I'm not buying till I checked on Ford.
CA House Music has all the gear to make your music legendary. With all the best gear, including Fender, Epiphone, Yamaha, and more, CA House will have you rocking in no time. Get the most for your money with everyday low prices. And we meet or beat internet pricing. Play before you buy and let our product specialists help you pick out the instrument that's right for you. CA House Music, supporting local musicians since 1872. Play music for life.
Follow us on Facebook for the latest news, show updates, podcasts, alerts, and live video streams from the Valley's only network dedicated to local, community-driven talk radio, The Watchdog.
Miss a part of the show? Want to hear a segment again? Check out our podcast page at watchdognetwork.com. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
Coming up today at 10, right when we are done, Hoppy Kercheval, statewide talk line. Hoppy will talk to begin with Brad McElhenney from Metro News, of course, to talk about the governor's town hall meeting last night. As I said, if he keeps his snarky attitude that he had on his tweets last night, should be kind of a fun conversation. McElhenney kicking things off with a statewide talk line today. Then a couple of key delegates and senators coming in. Senator Mike Romano from the Harrison County, a Democrat, talking about the health department bill, taking away the authority from local health departments and giving it to elected county commissioners and so on. That'll be coming up today with statewide talk line. And the COVID czar, I guess he's still the czar, Dr. Clay Marsh will be on as well. Coming up, statewide talk line beginning at 10:06, right after 10 o'clock news here on the Watchdog. Next week is the beginning of basketball in West Virginia. Finally, Brother Biff. Girls first, then the boys coming in, right?
Yep, girls start Wednesday the 3rd. Boys can start Friday the 5th.
And we will begin our coverage on the 9th, I think, if my schedule is right. Is that correct?
Yep, 9th is a Tuesday. Weirton's at Wheeling Central and John Marshall and Wheeling Park.
So on each of our stations, a couple of good games. Central, we have a lot of Central Park and JM games. I'm looking over the schedule. We got a full schedule of high school basketball coming up now that high school basketball is back in action. So stick with us. Our first game will be on the 9th, first two games actually. Weirton and Central on WKKX and JM and Wheeling Park on WVOY on March the 9th, which is Today's, what is that, 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, it'll be 2 weeks because next Tuesday's the 2nd. It'll be the following Tuesday, the 9th.
All right, so check that out. And I think tonight, if my notes are right, tonight's Bob Huggins show on the radio stations, both of our stations.
Penguins tonight at 7.
Oh, Penguins tonight, okay.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be West Virginia basketball taking on Baylor, but that game got
that got canceled.
Yeah, that got canceled, which means now that West Virginia's last 4 games, which this is kind of unique, their last 4 games will be at home. So because they're not going to make up that Baylor game, it was supposed to be a home and home with Baylor. They're not going to make up the road game with Baylor. So West Virginia's road portion of their schedule is done. So their last 4 games will be at home in Morgantown.
And they're increasing the people who can watch the games. Am I correct? Is that right at the Coliseum?
I believe so.
So at least some folks will be able to go in and actually watch the games. So, and you can listen to them here on the Watchdog. It's 10 before the hour on the Watchdog Morning Show. We've been spending a lot of our time this morning talking about what's going on down in Charleston, the income tax bill that the governor talked about last night, a variety of bills that the Delegate Fluharty and I were discussing, the user fee elimination that's pending that Mayor Elliott and I were talking about. Here's kind of a capsule of what happened yesterday in Charleston and what might happen today with our daily Capitol Report.
This is the Metro News Capital Report, brought to you by AARP West Virginia, your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State. Today's report in 60 seconds.
AARP is your ally for real possibilities in the Mountain State. A wise friend and fierce defender for everyone in West Virginia as you get older. With more than 250,000 members and communities in all 55 counties, AARP is working every day for you. We have financial tools and health guides to help make sure the good things in your
help if I kept things up to date. Okay, good.
He is advocating on behalf of West Virginians 50 plus of their families at the state capitol. Every day we're supporting family caregivers and fighting for things like better high-speed internet access across the state. And AARP has information on COVID-19 vaccine distribution in your area. Everyone in the Mountain State needs someone in their corner. That someone is AARP. For more information, find us on Facebook at AARP West Virginia or visit us online at aarp.org/WV.
After a day full of meetings from the House of Delegates in their less talked about committees, its main committees will go back to work today at the state capitol. The House Judiciary Committee will take up a bill removing the limitations on advertising and promotional activities by limited video lottery retailers. The House Finance Committee is also scheduled to meet today, and the House Education Committee has an early afternoon meeting after the floor session. A couple of bills on its agenda, including an originating bill relating to enrollment at county vocational schools and a bill implementing trauma-informed practices in schools. Now, Monday, March 1st, is the deadline for high school seniors to apply for a Promise Scholarship. COVID-19 has hurt those enrollment numbers simply because kids just haven't been in school. They were down a few weeks ago in enrollment 50% from last year's applications. State Higher Education Chancellor Sarah Tucker says that's improved some, now down to 37%, and that's because more kids have gone back to school.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And counselors can answer questions that they have and help walk them through the process as well. And also, it's just someone that's there saying to them, this is important, you need to pay attention to this and do this right now.
House of Delegates and State Senate floor sessions begin today at 11 o'clock. I'm Jeff Jenkins on Metro News, the voice of West Virginia.
Continuing coverage of the legislature here on the Watchdog Morning Show and all throughout the day, courtesy of Metro News here on the Watchdog. Coverage of all the Upper Ohio Valley news that needs to be known is always from the Big Seven, and Bob Westfall's here from WTRF to talk about it. Good morning, Bob.
Hey, Howard, how you doing?
Good. Did you get outside and enjoy the nice weather yesterday?
No, I work all day, Howard. I don't get out early. I work. Yeah. I mean, I know you're telling us all that you're in your room in the house, but something tells me that you're really on a beach in Aruba.
You know, all this equipment, the way it can work, it's probably not a bad idea to think about it. I can do this whole thing from a beach.
I know. And why are you not?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm going to think about that. Donnie, it's time to do the beach broadcast now. My wife will get working on that.
Yeah, okay.
What are you working on today?
Well, working on a few things today. We're going to sit down and talk to Senator Capito this afternoon. A couple things I want to talk to her. The biggest thing, obviously, is the hearings that are going on right now, dealing with the January 6th and the correction. A lot of things going on, a lot of things coming out of that. Just trying to get her take on what is going on, what is being said. We've got one United States senator that seems to be still pushing a narrative that a lot of people have debunked. So I'm kind of curious on what her thoughts are on something like that. So we're going to sit down and talk to her about that.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, also take a look. Mountaineer Food Bank is in town as they continue to do their good work as we battle through the COVID and the economic downswing. They are at the casino today. So we're going to run over there, get a little bit of information on that, find out. It's been a long year, so we're going to find out how they keep doing what they're doing. So we're going to follow up on that. It's one of many organizations in the Valley that have really stepped up in the last year, so that's a good thing.
Bob, when you design your day, do you purposely try to find a good story or two to sort of balance out the hard news of the day?
Yeah, I think a lot of people really could use some good news stories. So yeah, we try to find some. I mean, it's always a good thing. Whether it's economic development, a positive somewhere there, maybe jobs come in the area, or the story we did yesterday with Steubenville High Schools and their aviation program. Who knew a high school had an aviation program? I mean, that was a fantastic story. It turned out really well. So that's a good story. We've got a great.
When I was in high school in the early '70s, a lot of the students were high, but it really wasn't an aviation program. So maybe I should just leave that alone.
Yeah. Hey, probably leave that one alone. You were in high school in the '70s?
I was.
Huh. That was
late
a great
60s, late. I guess I started in the '60s, graduated in '71. So yeah, '60. You were in grade school. Well, bless your heart. I'm an old man, so that's just the way it is.
We've got talking about good stories. We've got one coming up tomorrow that I'm really excited about. Story out of Bellsville. I loved Shelby went out yesterday, interviewed the kids and the parents. Girls basketball team didn't have enough ball players. So what happened is they asked the cheerleaders to join the team. The cheerleaders joined the team, and the basketball players joined the cheerleaders, and they would play their ball game. And then after they would change into their cheerleading uniforms, and they would go out and cheer the boys' teams on.
What a great story! I had not heard that. That's a great story.
So we're going to do something. We actually did the interviews last night. They actually had a ball game, which was tough because between the weather and COVID, we've been trying to do this story for about 6 weeks now. Finally got it last night. Shelby went out. Got a little lost in Bellsville, as you can imagine, but got there. So it's going to be a great story tomorrow. So I'm really excited about sharing that one tomorrow. That'll be a good story.
I'm circling my calendar for that. That should be fun to watch. I never heard of that before. That's neat.
And that's the biggest thing I try to tell people too when we talk to people like law enforcement, the sheriffs and stuff like that. We don't need, if you got a deputy that's doing something in the community, or a good story, it doesn't have to always be crime and this and that. Let's do those good stories.
Yeah, our first job in the media, of course, is to report the news.
Right.
But I think it's important that we balance that. I think you guys do a really good job with, as I said, always having a little leavening of the loaf with some stories that put a smile on your face or a little make your heart tingle a little bit. And I think that's the way we ought to do it.
Right. So yeah, I enjoy those stories. So like I said, I'm excited about the one tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. A couple other things we're working on is I'm going to talk to a young woman in Sistersville. Here's one of those stories. Not positive for her. Apparently there's a project going on. She's upset. She's under the impression that it feels like it's damaging her home. So we're going to go down and talk to her, see if we can't get some answers. That's something else that's important for us is is telling a story, but also maybe helping somebody out and getting them stories. We had a couple things cross my desk here in the last week, and they don't develop into stories, but at least we can help, and that's the biggest. That's something that's the reason I got into journalism. So I'm excited about that story too.
That's good stuff. Bob, I got to run. We'll check everything out at noon, 5, 6, 10, 11, 5:30 statewide show, and we'll get the previews of everything at WTRF.com. News when it breaks, we'll be right there. And
Yes,
I will
sir.
talk to you tomorrow. All right, thanks a lot. Biffy, I'll talk to you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Good Lord willing, creeks don't rise. Are you back with me?
Back to close out another week.
We'll keep on doing it until we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Indeed.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
The vice president with the local pharmacist saying,
It turned out to be a good show. He called at the right time. I just wish I could gauge whether to, start the Capitol report or not. I could have tap danced before him and not have to cut him off so much, but it was okay. Hey, listen, I apologize, if you're getting caught up in this new format stuff. I literally put them together over a year ago. It's taken a year for them to get into effect. And I try to keep you in the loop as much as I can, but if it's caught you by surprise, I'm really sorry. It's not by design. And, I always feel bad when I can tell you're frustrated by something that we've done, and I don't want you to be, and I do apologize if it comes across that way. Yeah, I guess it's my fault because I told her to replace the Sports Flash with Bill. Bill does a reasonably good job. I think having local is better than so. I said, let's give him 2 runs, Tony in between at 8:30. But that meant getting rid of the Sports Flash, which I think we run at other times of the day anyway. So I don't know where we moved it to, but it was my decision. And again, I apologize for not being clear about that. I understand. I completely understand, and I don't know how we do that better. Like I said, I put these formats together literally a year ago. It's taken that long to get them into place. Quite frankly, a couple of them, in the last couple of days, I've been going, is that what I wanted to do? I wasn't sure how I put the formats together because it's been so long. So. But I hear you, and I apologize, and I'm really sorry if you got frustrated by the changes. I'm the one who insisted, and I was talking to Rick about it yesterday because he doesn't like the 20 break either. I said, sometimes you just got to take a break. Now I couldn't do it with Sean today because he had to get out for his meeting, so I couldn't keep him any past where we were, but. I'm trying my best to take that 20 break too. There's value in shorter segments, and B, that way we get the spots in on time. But it's a learning curve for everybody. Like I said, if just try not to get too frustrated, and I really am sorry if you get that way. I apologize. Yeah. Well, I think whatever is in there the last couple of days, I think we had too many spots running in the top of the hour break Monday and Tuesday. I told her to take those out because we were getting started too late. We were getting started like at 12 or 13 after Monday and Tuesday, and that's too late to get started. So I think we got that fixed. And again, we'll just, if there's things that don't seem to work for you, just tell us. Or tell me it's a work in progress, and try. And like I said, there are a couple things that Kayleen asked me about yesterday, why are we doing this? I said, I don't know. We did it a year ago. I literally did this a year ago. I don't know why I did certain things, you know. So, but I just hate to hear you get frustrated, and I apologize. It makes me feel bad when you get frustrated. I understand that we're all pretty crappy communicators, but try your best not to get frustrated. I don't intend for you to be left out. It just happens that way sometimes. All right. I should be around all day today. I am seriously a little bit nervous about this sore throat, and my arm from where I got the shot is swollen a little bit. Can't believe a week afterwards am I having, a reaction to the vaccine. That doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to take some Tylenol and try and relax here. Yeah, it could be because it's not. I've got a sore throat and my arm. I noticed it last night. It's got a little bit of a rash to it and it's itching. So hopefully it won't get any worse. I'm going to take some Tylenol and maybe order some sausage and gravy and biscuits. And then life will be good for the time being. All right, if you need me for anything, I should be around. However, just give me a call. Otherwise, I will talk to you in the morning. We got McCabe, at least as of yesterday, he said he'd be on. And seems like I got something else. I don't know what it is, but we'll make something else happen. All right, thanks for your help. Again, if you get frustrated, just let me know, okay? All right, thanks a lot, pal. I appreciate it. All right, bye.
I'm Darnell Foster.
Proctor, the watchdog, is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Proctor trusts the watchdog. The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Good morning. Welcome to Talkline on the Metro News Radio Network.
Do not attempt to change the station. You are surrounded. We interrupt this program to bring you an emergency news bulletin. Repeat, this is an emergency bulletin. Keep your radio turned on.
Holy smoke. From the studios of the West Virginia Radio Corporation and the Metro News Radio Network, the voice of West Virginia, comes the most powerful radio show in West Virginia. This is Metro News Talk Live with Hoppy Kercheval.
Check set line up link. Activated Telos telephone. Switch network control from Charleston to Morgan Center.
Stand by. Q Hoppy. You're on.
Metro News Talk Line with Hoppy Kercheval is brought to you by Encoga Insurance, encircling you with coverage to protect what you care about most. Visit Encoga.com to learn more.
Good morning. Welcome to Talkline on Metro News all across the great state of West Virginia. Ethan Collins is our producer. Taylor Kennedy with a video stream. You can watch us at WVMetroNews.com. Phone number 1-800-765-8255. This morning, coming up later, Dr. Clay Marsh update on vaccinations in West Virginia. Also, we will give you more details